Perfect. Is it good morning? Okay, let's start with this. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, namaskar, sat shri akal, adab, salam alaikum. Welcome to today's live broadcast about out of the blues. Not out of the blues. I mean, we were expecting this, right? But yeah, we didn't expect it today for our express entry draw, which just happened, and again, we saw a PNP specific draw, which is Provincial Nominee Program specific draw. So this draw was, or rather, is only specific to the Provincial Nominee Program. Let's quickly go to the screen and see what the draw is all about. And yes, I can see lots of questions. We will sort of obviously take few of those which are related to today's broadcast. And yeah, okay. First things first. There is going to be a lot of speculation. There is going to be a lot of why not this and why this and how come this and why wasn't this taken, why wasn't that taken. Well, honestly speaking, I wish I knew why certain things are happening the way they are happening. I really do wish, because that would allow me to go to go to Vegas the minute they open up and then make tons and tons of money. But unfortunately I don't, and neither does anybody else out there, except of course IRCC and the people in the authority or the power, and they themselves know what they're trying to do. So we will speculate, of course, we will analyze, because that's the best we can do right now. But before we get to that speculation, analyzing, breaking down certain things, let's first look at today's draw and understand what that is about. And today's draw was, let me just take that screen, bring it on for you. Yeah, this is what it is. Okay, my dear. Okay, so this is today's draw. What does it say? It says, come on quickly. All right. So today's, camera is here now. Today's draw, and April 9th, 2020, number of invitations issued 606. That's actually not a small number, to be honest. I mean, that means a lot of people have managed to receive their nominations within the last few 2 weeks or something that the last draw was in. Okay. The tie-breaking rule for this is on the 18th of December 2020. Wow. Okay, that's. But then that tie-breaking rule applies to the score of 698. So to sort of break it down for some of you out there who are still new to this and don't really understand this well. So basically it means is that, first of all, this is only provincial nominee program specific draw. So basically this is an express entry draw, but this applies only to people who have received a provincial nominee or other provincial nomination from any of the provinces. And because of that, they would have got 600 points in their express entry profile. Now, this also means that 606 people received an ITA today because they had the nomination. And it also says that the lowest person who got today's ITA, the person's score was 698. Now, I know a lot of people are wondering how come 698, considering 600 is the points for your for your nomination. How can somebody have a score of 98 CRS? I mean, trust me, I'm also trying to figure that out, but we will get to that in a minute. For the breakdown is of the pool. Okay, now in the pool, as you can see, the people above score of 601, between 601 to 1200, 1200 being the maximum anybody can score. There were a total of 479 people in the pool. But then you have to keep in mind that this pool is as of April 5th. And today is the 9th of April, so there have been 4 more days. And this was probably, 5th of April was the weekend. I think it's Sunday, right? Was it a Sunday? Yes, I think it was a Sunday. Nowadays we're even losing count of our days. Yes, of course it was a Sunday. Of course, today is Thursday. So in the last 4 days, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, last 4 days, several more people have received their nominations. And that's why the number has gone up. So a lot of people get confused as to why the number of people in that profile range is only 479. But as far as ITA said, as far as CIC has said, they have issued 606 ITAs. So obviously, where is the difference? The difference comes from the number of people who would have received their nomination after this pool breakdown has been shared with us. So that's where the difference comes from. The next thing which is of interest to us, and of course everybody out there, is of people in the segments below 601. So there are 390 people with scores of 501 and above, and that's pretty decent number. Let me just check what was it last time. So in the last draw that was shared with us, and the pool breakdown, then the last draw they had shared with us that the number of people in the pool between 501 and 600 was 254, and now it's obviously much more than that, and now it's 390. Between 451 and 500, now you have 23,626 people. Earlier you had 21,604. So you can see there's almost a difference of 2,000 more people who entered the pool after the last pool breakdown was announced. But then basically also means that more than 2,000 people entered, because you see 3,900 people received an ITA, so they should have been reduced from that number. But still, that seems to be, there's a large number of people who still managed to come to the pool, right? Now, who are these people? We'll just come to talk about it. In the meantime, let me just also quickly go through it. I mean, the other part of the breakdown. 491 to 500 as of right now is 317. Last pool breakdown that I'm reading was 197. Okay, so from 197 it has gone up to 317. Wow, that's a lot of people coming with high scores still entering the pool in the last 2 weeks. Scores between 481 to 490. The current pool breakdown shows the number of people as 481 to 490 is 910. Wow, I mean, where are these people coming from? I mean, such amazing scores. But again, the earlier pool breakdown had 421 people with scores 481 to 490, and then from 471 to 480, which is the really interesting segment of pool breakdown. Earlier there were 1,047 people. Okay, and now coming back to today's one, we have 2,423. That's a very, very decently big number, right? And obviously there's no point of talking about 461 and 470 because the numbers above 471 itself are pretty decently large. So let's quickly calculate how much does that bring down to. Just give me a moment, guys. I'm just quickly running through the numbers to see what is the calculation here. 2423 plus 910 plus 317 plus 390. Oh wow. So basically, as far the totals are concerned, if we are to consider this pool breakdown as even today's pool breakdown, I mean, I'm not even going to consider that this is 5 days, rather 4 days earlier. Let's say if this was today, 5th of April, so there are 4,040 people in the pool with scores more than 471 as of today. The pool does not give us the breakdown, or does not give us an understanding of how many of these people are Canadian experience class, how many of these are federal skilled worker class. So we will always be a bit, lost with those figures. But yeah, that is the figure right now. And yeah, let's come back to the main screen. Okay. So that was the figures. So we have 4,040 people in the pool with scores of more than 471 as of today, with absolutely no understanding of how many of these people are Canadian experience class and how many of them are federal skilled worker class. Now, I would assume that since the last draw, which happened 2 weeks, was it 2 weeks back? I think so. Yeah, I don't remember the exact date, but it happened on the last week of March. Now, if we have to consider that the last draw which happened was, or rather last time when CIC did this, then they first did a PNP draw, okay? And then immediately after the PNP draw, after say 3 or 5 days, there was another express entry draw, and that was for Canadian experience class only. Now, what also they did was they again issued a total of 3,900 ITAs, of which, they gave 3,232 minus, sorry, I'm just quickly running through the math. Yes, so 668 ITAs were issued to the provincial nominee program applicants, and 3,232 were issued to the Canadian experience class. Now, the score was 467. That the last one that they were the last draw happened. So it tells you that a lot of Canadian experience class applicants or aspirants who were there in the pool with 467 and above were actually cleared out in the last draw. But in spite of that, there is, I mean, as you can see, there is a huge spike in the numbers for people more than 471. Who are these people, right? Now you start wondering. But of course, there will definitely be a lot of people who would have completed their 1 year, 2 year, 3 years Canadian work experience and would have got additional points added to their score, and therefore they would be, present within this pool. There were a lot of people who already had their IELTS and ECA done because they were still trickling through and they were still to create their profile. So you would also see those people entering the pool. Apart from that, I can't think of many people except for the fact that if somebody's sibling has traveled to Canada in the recent past, then obviously those people could also add their sibling points, right? So this is what would form the crux or the main number of people in the pool. But again, the scores are significantly higher. 471 plus, you have, as of 5th of April, 4,040 people. That's an amazing big number. So what does that mean? That means that, again, if CIC is going to maintain what they did in the last draw, so what they did in the last draw was first they issued or they cleared all the provincial nominations, which was 668 in the last draw. This time it is 606. Once they cleared those, after a few days, then they issued another draw, and in that they issued ITAs for Canadian experience class. Now, your guess is as good as mine, or my guess is as good as yours, if you want to call it in any which ways. The next draw which might happen, I would speculate now because it's now looking like a trend, right? I mean, why are they doing it? We'll talk about it, why they're trying to do it, but it's looking like a trend already. They did a PNP draw before, now they're doing a PNP draw again. Now the next draw could well be a Canadian experience class draw only, or it can definitely be a generic draw with federal skilled worker again. Honestly speaking, I would really love to know it. I mean, but I can't, and we can only speculate. So if they do only a Canadian experience class draw, then I would see a score significantly lower. I would see a score of maybe 460s, lower 460s for Canadian experience class only. And if at all this was going to be a federal skilled worker draw, it can't be only a federal skilled worker draw. If they were to do a draw, they would probably do a generic draw. Or if they want to do a draw, it'll be a Canadian experience class. If they do a Canadian experience class draw only, you will see a score of early 460s, probably in that range. Again, we can only speculate, and that speculation comes from the fact of now that we have certain breakdowns in the tens. So you have a breakdown of 461 to 470, 471 to 480, 480, etc. and so on and so forth. So again, something of that sort, right? But if it is a generic draw, and if they include federal skilled workers also in that particular draw, as you can see now that we have the pool breakdown, 471 and above, you already have 4,040 people in the pool. Now, with that, it tells you that the next draw, if and when that happens, and if it is a generic draw, including federal skilled workers, then your scores are going to be in the range of 472, 473, probably 474, because there are already 4,000 people in the pool. And this was on the 5th of April. So today is the 9th of April, 4 days have passed, and depending on when the next draw is, and it could be maybe Monday, maybe Tuesday, maybe next Wednesday, we don't know. Or it could actually happen tomorrow. Or maybe today itself, today evening, it might be a bumper draw today. But again, speculation, right? But considering that there are 4,000 people in the pool, you would, and if they do a federal skilled worker draw as well, inclusive of federal skilled worker, you will see a score of 472, 473, probably in that range of the number. But what that would do is, at least it will continue to fuel our hopes. I know for a fact lots and lots and lots of people are very, very worried. They are very anxious. And the reasons for anxiety is, one, because a lot of your birthdays are coming, right? And if you are in the range of 469, 470, 471, that kind of scores, and if your birthday is coming up, that can really, really put a big speed breaker in your journey here, because you will lose 5 points. And if you don't have an ITA, then that's going to be a difficult one, right? Not only that, there are a lot of people whose IELTS is expiring, okay? Or they have already, applied for a review of their scores. Or for example, your ECA, you were expecting a result anytime soon, whether it was for a master's reassessment or was it for a second degree that you must have done. So all of your, dreams or all of your hopes are right now sitting with CIC, whether they're going to do an express entry draw inclusive of federal skilled worker program or not. Okay, I absolutely would love to see a federal skilled worker draw coming up, because that would, amongst all this doom and gloom, amongst all these COVID-19 stories we keep hearing on every single day, right? Sometimes my head explodes listening to all these things, but it's there, it's around us. You cannot run away from social media. You cannot run away from newspapers and articles that you keep seeing. You cannot run away from YouTube videos. You cannot run away from all these forwards that keep creeping up in your WhatsApp boxes. Amongst all that, which is, all that sad and bad news, I would really, really love. And if anybody from CIC is watching this, the chances are absolutely negligible, but you can always hope. Then I would really, really, keep my fingers crossed and hope and pray that, guys, please do a federal skilled worker draw as well, so that, people can continue to move ahead with their dreams, even amongst all these problems. Now, why? So what has CIC already done? CIC has already put on hold draws for IEC, okay, that is International Experience Canada class, which has got nothing to do with express entry. Okay, this was meant for people who come to Canada as a working holiday program, and they come to Canada as part of their holiday and working as well, and they gain important work experience in Canada. It's that program was it's so only certain nationals or certain countries or people from certain countries under certain age and certain other criteria were eligible to apply under IEC. But anyways, those draws have been put on hold. CIC already announced that. There has been no announcement of any kind of hold on express entry, federal skilled worker, PNPs, CEC, nothing. There was, of course, a report on one of the newspapers which, and as far as I'm concerned, I don't consider very, very credible, because they are what they are. In every country, you have these kind of newspapers, which basically take a certain comment spoken by somebody, and they, wrap it up with lots of other speculations and their own interpretations, and, give it to you as news. And then it becomes viral because lots of people's hopes are attached to it. So as of right now, we haven't been given any kind of indication that express entry is being put on hold. There is no such indication. And of course, today's draw should be a very good indication, otherwise, to tell you that everything is going on. CIC's website very clearly states that they are continuing to accept new applications. If you were to write to IRCC on their Twitter feed, on their Facebook Messenger, or anywhere else on their social media, they will respond back to you and they will tell you that everything is going on as normal. Yes, of course, when I'm saying as normal, I mean that they are continuing with their programs. Of course, there is delay. For all these people who keep asking whether my application will be delayed, whether the process will be delayed, of course it will be delayed. Have you seen what is happening around you? Everything is on shutdown. Everything is being locked down. Everything has been pushed back, slowed down. So of course there is going to be a delay. That is not even a question anymore, right? But at least things are moving. That is the most important and critical factor. So that is something which has to be kept in mind. And let me come back to my previous notation of why 698. Now, a lot of people were wondering, how can somebody get a score of 98 CRS and then still get a provincial nomination and then get 698. So how can 698 be possible? Well, I haven't honestly got a chance to really do different permutations and combinations yet, but I am assuming, it's an assumption, I'm assuming that if you were a federal skilled trade category, if you were eligible under federal skilled trade category, again, you do not have to have high IELTS scores. You do not need to have, master's or bachelor's degrees. You do not need to have 3 years of work experience, as long as you had 2 years of Canadian work experience under that particular occupation, or if you had a certificate of qualification okay, and just 2 years of work experience, even if you had a high school diploma, even if you had an IELTS of CLB4, CLB5, I don't remember the exact criteria on top of my head, you would still be eligible in express entry under the federal skilled trade category. Now, if this person who is eligible in federal skilled trade category, if this person was to then get a provincial nomination, okay, because nowhere does a provincial, or rather a lot of provincial nomination programs will not tell you that just because you're a federal skilled trade category, you cannot apply under the provincial nominee program. So if this person who was in the FSTC, federal skilled trade category in express entry, and this person managed to get a nomination from a province, then obviously this person's scores will get added with 600, and it is quite possible. Again, as I said, I haven't really run the mathematics. I really haven't run the permutations and combinations on the points grid, but it is a possibility. Now, Arslan is asking me, and it's a very interesting question. He says, CRS 98 and meeting the MEC 67 points. Well, Arslan, 67 points MEC is applicable only to federal skilled worker program. It is not applicable to FSTC. It is not applicable to CEC. Okay, the 67 points requirement is only for federal skilled worker program. Okay, so that should give you an understanding. So I think that clarifies as well. What else? Okay, so quickly running through something else. Let me just take you to another screen right now, and that is for, hold on. Okay, so, okay, sorry, here, you're here. So this screen is again CIC website, which is going to talk about different provisions they have made for people who are in different stages of the application. Somebody is asking me, Manisha is saying, is there any change in immigration policy? No, absolutely not. There is no change in the immigration policy. Why would you expect any changes? As of right now, everything is going on as normal. Again, I keep saying as normal. What I mean to say is they're still conducting draws as it has happened today. They will, I'm sure there is going to be another draw for sure, very quickly, very soon. And whether it will be inclusive of federal skilled worker program or not, we have to see. But I'm just going to quickly take you to, just going to go through this website. This is for immigration applications. Now, what will happen is that if you have received your ITA today, or if you have received your ITA within the last 2 weeks, it's obvious that you will not be able to complete certain documentation. So you may not be able to get a PCC, you may not be able to do your medicals, you may not be able to get your proof of fund documents from the bank, you may not be able to get certain work experience documents. First things, CIC has giving you, rather is now giving you 90 days to submit your application. Okay, so you will now have 90 days to submit your applications, and here it tells you permanent residents applications that they are still processing. So they will tell you what else is going to happen with that. If you get a biometrics request, you will have 90 days instead of 60 days, instead of 30 days. So though the letter on your biometrics letter might say that you must complete it in 30 days, but don't worry about it. You automatically have a 90 days time on it. So don't worry about it. When things normalize, when you have, you can book your biometrics appointment and proceed with that. Otherwise, also, if you're about to submit your application and if there is any part of your application which is not complete or you're not able to get a document for it, don't worry about it. Submit your application with a letter of explanation stating why you were unable to provide a document. It's very important. You must explain why you were unable to provide a certain document. Just do not submit without an incomplete application without any explanation, because if you do not provide an explanation, then under R10, your application may be rejected. Okay, so don't make that mistake. You can definitely submit your application even if it is incomplete, but do provide an explanation as to why you were unable to submit a particular document. And you don't have to go into details. You can very well say that due to the current COVID restrictions in your hometown, in your country, in your city, you were unable to get certain documents, and you will provide it at a time when it is more feasible to do so. Okay, so if you were to go to this website, you will see much more in detail what is available to you in terms of if you are applying for your application, if you are a permanent resident already, if you are a student, if you are coming to work to Canada as a worker. So all those things will help you, or rather I would say CIC has made lots of provisions to accommodate different people who are stuck in different scenarios. So this basically is more or less the breakdown for today's draw, the understanding of what is happening out there, or rather our attempt, rather my attempt to analyze what is happening out there. Let's take a few of the questions while I continue to think what exactly is happening out there. Okay, some people are asking, can we expect CIC to do this, CIC to do that, so as to make changes to do this. Somebody is asking, can we expect CIC to alter the age of 30 years? No, I mean, I am not expecting IRCC to change all these things as of right now. Why? Because a lot of these things that you're talking about, for example, changing the 30 years for age calculation, it's wishful thinking. I mean, I wish they would do lots of other things, but they cannot. The reason for that is a lot of the requirements in the Federal Skilled Worker Program, Canadian Experience Class Program, it is ingrained in the Immigration Refugee Protection Act and Immigration Refugee Protection Regulations. And IRCC can just not change it, right? In order to make any changes to the Act and regulation, it's a very, very long, lengthy process. It has to go through a bill, parliamentary process, and only then can those changes be incorporated or made. So no, I don't expect any such law related changes or immigration policy related changes as such. So the exemptions will come within the program itself. Exemptions will come within the process itself as to what CIC can and cannot do. For example, they have already allowed lots of international students who are not currently in Canada, who are outside Canada, who are not able to complete their studies, or they can study online and they will still have their eligibility of postgraduate work permit met. So, they're trying to make provisions within what they can do, right? Okay, let's take some of the questions to see what is one of the biggest concerns. Okay, somebody is asking me what can the score be. I can't tell you in terms of, Gauri says, I have a query like my CRS score is 370 after considering my IELTS as 8777. So like if I need my CRS to be above 400, how much score is required? Well, Gauri, I can't tell you how much score is required. What you need to do is you need to go back to the CRS calculator and work out different permutations and combinations and see what gets your score to a higher one. Pratik says Indian time is midnight 1200. Yes, of course. Okay, we have already started. So that's an old one. Arun says we are a couple with kid 8 years old. Express entry points 436, waiting for PNP invitation. What are the chances? I can't tell you the chances. Again, if you keep asking me about the chances, I can't, because I don't know your profile. Even if you give me a brief profile, I can't really run. Canada has more than 80 different immigration programs through different provinces, through different territories, to different pilots, etc. So you need to go back to individual PNP websites, individual provincial websites, check their criteria, check their programs, see what you're eligible, under what program you're eligible, and then you will be able to apply. Mrinal says, what does 698 PNP draw mean exactly? It basically means only people who have a provincial nominations, they were eligible in this particular draw, and the minimum score of a person who received an ITA was 698. That's what it means. Okay. I've already explained how can somebody with a score of 98 get this. So, if you haven't really heard me, then please rewind this thing, rewind the video and take a look and understand the explanation again. What else is there? Divya says, I've applied under spouse non-accompanying, and at the post AOR stage, can my spouse also apply for EE under spouse non-accompanying and aim for PNP? Well, technically, yes, you can apply separately for under different provincial nominee programs or express entry programs. There is nothing wrong with that. Absolutely, you can do that. But keep in mind that you will be providing CIC with a reason why a spouse cannot join you. The very fact that you are saying that your spouse is not going to accompany you, and you're giving some reason, and then simultaneously your spouse is actually applying for a different provincial program or a different express entry program. Now that is contradictory, right? So please be careful as to what you are declaring in your application. You might be not being truthful in your application, and that will result in some issues with your application. So please be careful with that. Knowledge C is asking, will the score come down to 450? I doubt it will. Only because the numbers are just too high. If you can see the pool breakdown, there are more than 23,000 people, just more than 451. So for scores to come to 450, absolutely doesn't look possible anywhere in the near future. Okay. Somebody says why there was no federal skilled worker draw. Well, I would assume again, it's just a speculation. I wouldn't know otherwise. One of the reasons of only doing a CEC or PNP specific draws would be because if you have Canadian experience class, you already have connection to Canada. You've already spent time and money and effort in Canada. So Canada wants to give you the benefit of your effort and your time that you've spent in Canada. You would have come to Canada whether on a study permit, you would have come to Canada as a worker, and therefore you have gained that important Canadian work experience, Canadian education. And let's say this is Canada's way of rewarding you for your effort, for your time, for the money that you've spent, and therefore they've given you a bit of advantage in the whole process. I mean, as it is, there is an advantage there because you have Canadian experience, you get additional points for different factors. But just by announcing a CEC draw, probably that is one way of looking at it. Okay, that is one way of differentiating different people within the pool. But that's what they've done before. As far as federal skilled workers are concerned, it's a much larger pool, it's a much bigger pool, and a lot of people are saying that immigration should stop or will stop, but what people don't understand is that Canada gets a lot of benefit from new immigrants, right? New immigrants are absolutely essential for Canada's growth, for Canada's economy, in every which ways, right? Last year itself, there were more than 500,000 international students in Canada, okay? More than 300,000 new immigrants came to Canada. So that's, I mean, gives you a total number of nearly 800,000 people who were not earlier Canadians or permanent residents. Now, that's a very big number for a country where total population is only 37 million people, right? Not only that, when you have so many people who are coming to the country, they're automatically, helping, I wouldn't say jumpstart because it's not that the economy is dead, but it's really getting there. But they really help, oiling or rather keep the economy going. So there is no way that understanding or that purpose is lost on the people who make the decisions. They absolutely understand that, because to give you an indication, just the international students' revenues to Canada is in excess of multi-billion dollars. Okay, the international students contribute not only by way of tuition fees, but if an international student is coming to Canada, not only are they spending on the tuition fees, there is a lot of auxiliary services that they will also avail, whether it's buying from groceries, whether it is renting apartments or places to stay, or whether it's day-to-day shopping, or even they contribute in the workforce. Students are allowed to work for 20 hours per week, part-time. Once they complete their studies, they can then work full-time. So, you cannot ignore or you cannot blindside the fact that international students and new immigrants absolutely are one of the strongest pillars of the Canadian economy. And I will absolutely be shocked if anybody was to argue with that, because there is no other way of understanding this. Because no matter how many people seem to be anti-immigration at times, they also need to understand the whole balance of population. They also need to understand how the people who are boomers, who are going away from the workforce, they need to be replaced with eligible population. So immigration is huge. Rather, it has always brought a huge benefit to Canada. It will continue to bring. I don't see that ever going away. Yes, owing to the current situations, there could be a slowdown. There could be maybe at times maybe a pause in certain programs. There may be a certain changes to bring in certain categories of programs in play, just like what they're doing right now with PNPs and CEC. So that is a possibility, yes, and it might continue to happen in some time. But for Canada to completely stop immigration is not going to happen. It will not happen. There may be a pause, but it cannot completely shut down, only because immigration is so essential to the Canadian economy, right? So yeah, that's more or less. I mean, I could go on and on repeating the same thing, but that doesn't really help. Okay, next question was from Divya. I have applied under spouse. Okay, we've already done this one. We're repeating that. Sorry. Ashish Sharma says tiebreaker seems a typo error. Well, could be or could be not. Either which ways, it's a very low score of 698, so it really don't make much of a difference to a lot of people. Bilal Ahmed is asking, how do you meet eligibility for PNP? I have not I have met eligibility for Federal Skilled Worker Program, but for PNP it shows not met. Okay, Bilal, in your express entry profile, it will show CEC not met, PNP not met, FSW met. It basically means you meet the criteria for Federal Skilled Worker Program. But because you do not have any Canadian work experience, it will not allow you to meet the criteria for CEC. As far as PNP is concerned, it will continue to show not met until you get a nomination. So once you get nomination from any province, then it will tell you that you have met, because the express entry profile on its own is not checking for your eligibility criteria on different provincial nominations, or rather under different provincial nominee programs. Okay, the express entry profile is not doing that for you. So until you get a nomination, it will continue to show not met. So once you get a nomination, if you get a nomination, then that will change from not met to met. Okay, I hope that clarifies your question. Okay, same thing. I'm just going through the questions so we can see which ones are not repetitive and which we can go. Radhika is asking, is there any chance for tech draw related to NOC 2172 with scores of 449? Should I lose hope? Well, I wouldn't say this to anybody to lose hope, because hope is what keeps you going. Now, as far as the practicality and reality of the process goes, well, Ontario has always played in tandem with the express entry, right? And they're always played with the range of what is available. Again, you have to understand that there are more than 23,000 people, actually more, with scores of 451 plus. Okay, now that basically tells you that even, for example, there is a Federal Skilled Worker Program draw tomorrow at say 471, 472. And if Ontario was to do a tech draw at that point of time, first thing that Ontario will decide is how many notifications do they want to issue. Okay, so if they want to issue, let's say 1,500 notifications under tech draw, you see, Ontario is not looking to restrict the scores to a higher number. It's not their intention. Their intention is to control the quota that they have been allotted. So if they've been allotted with, let's say, last year was 6,600 something. This year they have asked for more, but until that happens. So let's say if they have a quota of 6,600 or 800, they will probably issue maybe 8,000 notifications of interest. Now, if they have to issue 8,000 notifications of interest, again, these are all hypothetical figures, right? So they will have to then decide how many draws am I going to do in the whole year. I'm going to do 4 draws. Do I need to do draws for HCP, which is Human Capital Priorities, General Draw, Tech Draw, then there is a Master's PhD program, then there is a Skilled Worker Program, then there is your Employer Job Offer Stream. All these have to be distributed depending on the requirement that the province has. After that, they will identify how many notifications they wish to issue at that point of time for the tech draw. If they decide they want to issue, let's say 1,500 notifications at that point of time, all they have to do is within the express entry pool, they have to look and see how many people, or rather what is the lowest score for people with 1,500 people who can qualify under that particular program. And if that figure is going to be 467, 466, 465, that will then become the range. So it's not that, that they do not wish to go lower, or it is them who's trying to restrict the scores in a higher figure, but everybody is tied, their hands are tied based on the quota that they have. So if they can issue only 1,500 notifications of interest, and there are already more than 2,000 people with scores of 467 and above in the pool who can be eligible in the tech draw, then obviously the scores are going to be restricted to that, right? It is not going to come down to 449 as you are expecting. So I hope that gives you an understanding of how the whole thing works. So then you will be able to sort of, anticipate the trends and which way they will probably go. Okay. Pradeep says, I wish they make a change by reducing the age. Well, I already gave an answer, probably not going to happen anytime soon. Nitesh is saying PPR mails not issued from March 13 are PPR mails on hold. Well, as I said already, nothing is on hold. Things are still progressing. Of course, they are slow. For example, if this was New Delhi Visa Office, right? Because PPR mails are issued by the local visa office. Now, Ottawa, CPC Ottawa can be one of the local visa offices, but PPR mails are issued by the local visa offices. Now, if it was, for example, New Delhi Visa Office, which is your local visa office, and if they had to issue a PPR mail, well, India is in a lockdown. Nothing is happening. Delhi even further. what do you expect? If people can't get to the, I mean, this is not a work from home kind of a thing, because these are highly sensitive and confidential matters. So visa officers are not going to be issuing your PPR emails from their home, from their couches, from their sofas. You know, they will need to probably come back to the embassy and do that, because as I said, these are extremely highly confidential and private matters. So if they are not going to be able to come to the offices, or there is going to be a lot of restrictions in the movement, how would you expect things to be operating normally? It's not going to happen. So expect delays, right? Instead of just painting a picture of everything is finished, everything is ended, no PPR mails, no express entry draws, no this, no that, no. Understand what is happening. Once you start understanding, you will be able to, see through the reasons of why certain things are happening and where they're taking place. So that will be able to, help you digest what the delay is about and take it easy then. Okay, lots of repetitive questions which we have already answered. I'm just trying to see if there's any other new questions. I am not able to see any. Okay, all right. Right, almost same thing. Biometric request, I already answered. Biometric request, if you have already received it, relax. If you already received your PPR email, relax, it's not a problem. I know you were given 30 days time, but if you are not able to submit, that's absolutely fine. All deadlines have been extended from 30 to 90 days. No problem with that. If you have an additional document request and you're not able to submit the document, please respond back saying that because of this scenario, you will not be able to submit the documents in time. CIC has already announced that they will not refuse, they will not reject any application for non-compliance for documentation. They've already said that they will respect the fact that you are not able to provide a document in time. So do not worry about that. It's not an issue. Well, that looks like that's more or less it. Well, let's just hope as we are analyzing and speculating that there will be a draw again. And if that happens, we will do another one of these and try to figure out and break down things and figures to see what makes more sense. While you're on the channel, please click. Okay, please click on that subscribe button. It's important. Why is it important? I'll tell you why it's important. One, you'll get a notification next time we do a live video, next time we upload any new videos or new information. And the numbers help. I mean, why would anybody want to do a video? Why would anybody want to do anything out there if nobody's watching? It's that kind of a thing. So if you like the video, if it makes any sense to you, if you think it was of any value to you, subscribe the channel. Like the video, share it, as everybody keeps saying. Well, even if you don't subscribe, that's all right. Keep coming back, keep watching. That's also all right. And it has been a pleasure once again, coming back and doing this live to sort of give you my point of view as to what I think is happening out there. And guys, wash your hands, maintain your distance, 2 meters, stay safe, and things will hopefully, get better soon again. Until next time, bye-bye.